That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
All you have to do is just be real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whips your ass.
Woo! I wish you and King would quit talking.
Welcome to Around the Ring, episode number 69. Indeed. It is Sunday, the day before Halloween, October 30th, 2016. I am one half of your host, Dave Brown. Joined with me, as always, is Floyd Johnson. How you doing this morning, sir?
I am doing well this morning. Looking forward to Hell in a Cell tonight, and for the 100th pay-per-view of the year. And just really excited to talk about the list, because I think we got a pretty good list this week.
I do too. It's we'll get to that later. It's going to be our top 5 spears. So that'll be I had to think about it, man. I found I had 3 came off the top of my head real quick, and then I thought of a 4th one, and then the 5th one I just thought of this morning. So that it took me a while, but yeah, we'll get into Hell in a Cell, and I should probably, speaking of, I am not prepared this morning, ladies and gentlemen. So while I'm pulling up the Hell in a Cell card, since I didn't watch Raw this week other than the first segment because life and stuff, and I heard it was just god awful, I'm gonna let Floyd tell us all about his thoughts on Monday Night Raw while I get the Hell in a Cell card so we can do some predictions.
Yes. Well, Raw, as we said, was horrible. It was the go-home show. Go-home shows are generally particularly bad, so I honestly don't really hold it against Raw. Even SmackDown's go-home shows are just okay at best. It's like you're really trying to not let anything happen until the show. Major points from the show was the whole Jericho and Owens list, and the list is lost, and you kind of see Owens not necessarily turning on Jericho, but Jericho seeing that Owens is really just only cares about himself. And it's funny, I can see what's coming. Owens beating up Jericho and saying, Sami Zayn was my best friend. You know what I do to my best friends. And kind of playing on that role that he doesn't really have friends. The other major points on the night, the Sasha and Charlotte build-up. I feel like Charlotte took full advantage of her time with Lita and the fact that it was staged and they could get everything right. And I felt like Sasha says the same things. Since I was a little girl, I wanted to do this. I'm a boss. And it's just very repetitive with her. I love her, and I'm hoping they tear down the house, but it's just their interviewing skills have a long way to go before they get true equality. Crowd buried Bayley and Dana doing an arm wrestling match, which, yeah, again, this just wasn't interesting.
What was the point of that? Because it would be one thing if, and I heard about this. I was listening to Wrestling Soup yesterday while I was making dinner, and it sounds really. Had they done a job of building up Dana as the bodybuilder, fitness model, because the woman is super athletic and she is. She's built. She is solid. Lots of muscle there, and then they did that on NXT. They have not once mentioned that on Raw that I've seen. So out of the blue, hey, let's have them have an arm wrestling match, because I'm sorry, anyone looks at those two women and goes, who do you think is stronger? I'm pretty sure almost everyone's going to go, I think Dana Brooke is probably the stronger of these two.
That is true. Yeah, her arms are just massive. She was a bodybuilder. Bayley looked like spaghetti strings, and forgive me, everyone, I got my weeks confused. There was this wasn't the week of the Lita interview. That was me rehashing something from last week. This was the week of the contract signing with Charlotte and Sasha, which really became all about Mick Foley. And him putting over how dangerous the Hell in a Cell was, how much he did and trying to put the fear in him. And Mick Foley is a great promo, but he completely overshadowed both of them, which was kind of embarrassing. And it was like, this is supposed to be about those two, but he put over the Cell more than he put over two women being in the match. And how dangerous it was. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, it's a Mick Foley interview, and Charlotte and Sasha are standing out there. But again, forgive me because, again, the build up for this match has not been well, in my opinion. So I can honestly say I have not been very into it. I'm more excited about the match than I have for any of the build up.
So do you think?
But my mate.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What was it?
I was going to say, do you think the thing with them bringing out Mick Foley and talking about how dangerous the Cell is the fact that the entirety of the build up to this point about the Sasha Charlotte match is its history, first time women in a Cell, it's history, and at some point they never talked about, okay, you can really F yourself up in this thing, and who better to show you than Mick Foley, who would be limping worse now if it wasn't for DDP, come out there and say, yeah, this is going to mess you up potentially. So do you think that they're trying to balance some of that because they haven't talked about it yet? Because it's been all history and nothing about the Cell is pretty scary.
My opinion is on the Cell being scary part. I believe that's a great idea what you're saying, but the fact that if the Cell is so dangerous, why are you putting 6 people in it basically? It loses all traction there. You're doing 3 Hell in a Cell matches. Well, if it's that dangerous, it only should happen like once a year. They should be the only ones or something like that. What makes it special is what's killing it is more that it's one of 3 than it's the idea that 2 women are in the Cell.
I agree. It's and we've talked about this before. The fact that you have a yearly Hell in a Cell match is idiotic. It needs to be brought out every once in a while. I mean, there's some gimmicks that you can turn, you can have a pay-per-view surrounding the gimmick and do it once a year. WCW and NWA did that with War Games, and it made sense. WWE does it really well with Money in the Bank, and that's one of the best pay-per-views of the year generally. Even Elimination Chamber, because it had a point. It was, this is for the championship, and so there was a point to it. It's like, okay, it's October, we need our spooky sounding pay-per-view, and we're petty enough that we refuse to do Halloween Havoc, so we're gonna do Hell in a Cell.
The biggest part I can say is that the only actual feud that deserved to be in Hell in a Cell this year was Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. That's Amen. The only year-round feud that they've had that I could have saw ending in Hell in a Cell, because that's the crowd is into that rivalry.
Yeah,
they're not really into Roman Reigns and Rusev. Rusev has done a lot in this rivalry and this build-up to help get Roman over. He has been pretty spectacular what they've been doing with Rusev, just because he's funny. He's a funny guy, and so I completely understand that, but I don't buy into Rusev and Roman hating each other. It has nothing to do with kayfabe or anything. It's just I don't think they've done a good job of building it up. Roman Reigns doesn't really come off on the mic well enough, and he pretty much, they've honestly got a little more even recently, but he pretty much wins all their confrontations. So I don't buy in Hell in a Cell. Charlotte and Sasha, like I said, if they were the only one out of this 3, I would be really, really excited. But more than likely, if they are closing out the show, they're going to be the 3rd Hell in a Cell match I've seen tonight. For me to get into it, unless they do something significantly different other than being women. Because if you don't want me to take the fact that if you're just wrestlers and you want me to not think about that, well, your feud is lame, and you've pretty much had the same match. Think of.
Yeah. Was there anything else from Raw you wanted to talk about?
The rare bad Paul Heyman promo. It wasn't really a bad promo. It was that this is the reaction Vince wanted, is for everybody to be chanting Goldberg in Minnesota, which is cool. But Brock Lesnar is a god in Minnesota. And I don't mean that in like, oh, he's a god. No, he's a god in Minnesota. He won a national championship at Minnesota. He then played, practice squad, whatever, for the Minnesota Vikings. He was a UFC champion. He was the world champion, all out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So crowds are generally loyal. Even Jack Swagger gets a pop in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and I thought you'd mentioned that last week, and I was thinking about it through the week, and it reminded me, and after I heard about this debacle, it reminded me of, maybe it was a year and a half, 2 years ago, before Ryback made his comeback as a face, and he was still teaming with Curtis Axel, and he was a heel. They were in Las Vegas for, I don't know if it was Raw or SmackDown, I forget which, but he was in a main event, like 6-man tag match and he was on the heel side with Orton and somebody else, and the crowd was chanting "Feed me more" like crazy. They wanted Ryback so bad, and it to me, this shows a greater, it's the symptom of a greater problem that WWE has. And that WWE is like, we're going to tell you what you are going to like. You're going to take your medicine, and you're going to thank us for it. Because, fuck you, that's why. We know best. You don't. Shut up. And
they'll be the first to say kayfabe is dead. Excuse me, but they don't act like it.
Yeah. And it's why not play up to a city's strengths? When you go to, Oklahoma City or Tulsa, make sure you have Jack Swagger on the bill because he's going to get a pop. You're in Minnesota, you're in Minneapolis, you have Brock Lesnar there doing something because the crowd's going to go bonkers. You're in Brooklyn, you bring out Cass and Enzo because, they're going to lose their minds. And it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I maybe if the logic was, hey, if we can turn Minnesota against Brock Lesnar, then, man, we're getting Goldberg over. And I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. Goldberg had a great moment. He did a great promo the other week. He was treated extremely well by that crowd. It was a fantastic moment. It was one of those great wrestling moments. But that doesn't mean that someone else's hometown is going to continue that momentum just because you want them to.
Yeah.
So
Brock Lesnar's not a heel either. He's not a face. He's not a heel. He is an entity of his own. He doesn't really do bad things to people. He doesn't really do good things. He just beats up the guy in front of him. So that was another, to me, logic flaw, is that you're trying to do this heel and face thing, but Brock Lesnar, you pretty much did the last 3 years of not making Brock Lesnar a heel.
Yeah,
not making him a face.
Does he? Yeah. Does he cheat? No. Does he take cheap shots? No. The only thing that would make him heel is the fact that anymore he does like 3 moves.
Yeah. But no, he's not a heel. He is not. He's not a traditional heel. He's not a new heel. He's not a heel. He's a monster, and he beats up like you had him in a feud at one time with Seth Rollins and John Cena. One heel, one face. You are proving that he is nothing. So when you say that, when you want people to boo Brock Lesnar, you want them to boo him because they're beating up this guy that they love. In Minnesota, they don't love Goldberg.
No.
You had 6 people chanting Goldberg, and the rest of the thousands of people chanting for Brock Lesnar. And it's just, like I said, it shows a disconnect and a willingness. They don't seem to accept what they have. It's like this is the wrestling business as it is. In the interview, you'll hear Triple H say it. There's no heel, there's no face, that kind of stuff. A person's home crowd is going to root for them. So I don't really understand why you would. I don't really understand why you would try to flip them against Brock Lesnar, because they're not.
Yeah, and they'll say on the one hand that said there's no heel, there's no face, because I've heard Vince apparently has said that in the past. Yet they build storylines with clear heel and face dynamics. It just. But you mentioned that triple threat feud with Cena and Lesnar and Seth Rollins. Man, wasn't that triple threat match those three had together was fantastic.
It was amazing, and it hates. I hate it because it leads. I mean, it was John Cena basically saying what he does is the truth. Is that he's a good wrestler. He's just not a good wrestler. He's not a good wrestler that can make other people look good. He needs another good wrestler across from him. And I feel like a lot of the years that I was really hating on it was because John Cena had bad opponents.
I'd never thought of it like that. But you're right. You put him in there with someone who is really good, and some people would make the argument, you put Cesaro in the ring with a broom, and they're going to have a good match. Yes, okay, I agree with you. But you can put Cena in there with anyone who is pretty good and up, and you get good matches. I mean, remember during the
captivating matches.
Exactly.
He puts on really good,
Like the whole U.S. Open Challenge thing was fantastic. Yeah. I loved that. The match he had with Neville, that it looked like he was going to lose had Rusev not interfered. That was so good. That was
the only. I only remember one bad match of that one that was against Zack Ryder because they both just did their kind of gimmick things, and then John Cena won.
Yeah, it's because Zack Ryder kind of sucks. I mean, let's be honest. The guy looks like $1 million, and he seems like a not horrible person, but he's not very good in the ring. Well, let's talk about Hell in a Cell. So, based on the Wikipedia page here, it looks like there are going to be 8 matches this evening, tonight at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. The pre-show match is a 6-man tag cruiserweight match with Cedric Alexander, Lince Dorado, and Sin Cara versus Tony Nese, Drew Gulak, and Arya Daivari. Why is Sin Cara? Why is that not Kalisto?
I don't know. I know they want Kalisto to be Ray, but before Ray was world champion Ray, he was the legend of the cruiserweight division Ray.
Exactly.
So if you want to build up Kalisto's character, you really need to let him go star in the cruiserweight division. Sin Cara is kind of a bigger dude. I doubt that he's under 205, like really, and that kind of hurts the legitimacy of it because he looks so much bigger than everybody else, like height and weight wise, and so that kind of takes away the accountability. I would have liked to seen this, whoever two they picked, I would have liked this to be a singles match, and I would have liked them to pretty much put on a cruiserweight classic match.
Oh yes, that would have been great, but they don't. Vince or whoever's writing Raw doesn't know what to do with these guys, and it's extremely evident because you see them on Raw and it just doesn't work. You see these same people on Wednesday on NXT and it works beautifully, and they have killer matches, and you just shake your head and it's glaringly obvious the problem's in the booking and the people putting it together, because on the one hand you've got people who don't know what the hell to do with this, and on the other hand you've got this other group of people who know how to make these people look great. And that's the whole thing. You look just at Raw in general. On paper, Raw should be the best show WWE puts on every week. It has the best roster, really. You look at, not taking anything away from SmackDown or NXT's roster, but you look top to bottom, and that Raw roster is stacked, and that show stinks every single week. So much to the point, I haven't watched a full Raw episode in 3 weeks. I
agree. And it's just so simple on the cruiserweight division. Give them 20 minutes. Give them 20 minutes and let them do what they did. Go out there and do exactly what you did in the Cruiserweight Classic. Fans might not get it at first, but then they will. Just like with the New Day, they didn't get it at first, and then they did. Yeah. I did at first, and then I did. So it might take them a long time to come on, but then they'll start seeing how good the matches are. The only problem is I think they think it's going to outshine every other division.
And who cares if it does?
The WWE, because Vince loves 6'6", 300-pound.
True, but just like NXT at times has made, whenever there's a takeover right next to a pay-per-view, it's no wonder why that WWE pay-per-view ends up being better than it probably would have, because they just watched NXT, the developmental division, put on a killer show and have said to themselves, well, shit, we got to top that. I mean, hell, Triple H himself said it. There was a backstage thing after the TakeOver Dallas. He walked in, it was, I don't know if you saw it, but they're backstage standing with everyone, and he looked at him, he goes, you motherfuckers, how are we going to top that? Before WrestleMania. And that's what the Cruiserweight should do. The Cruiserweight should be coming in there, putting on clinics, these excellent matches, and what's going to happen, guys like Seth Rollins are going to watch that and go, damn, I got to kick it up a notch. Because Seth Rollins is the kind of guy who sees someone having a killer match and says to himself, my match has to be better than that.
He's super competitive, and I love that about him. I mean, I've even watched Up, Down, Down, and when he's playing Madden, he is, like, super competitive. Like, every play he has to win. So, yes, it would up the game completely. And I truly believe you just got to let them do what they do. You said you were bringing the Cruiserweight division because of the reaction they got. They were giving that reaction because you let them perform. You have to let these guys perform.
Exactly, just like they did on Nitro. How many times were they by far the best matches on those shows? It didn't matter, man. It made the enjoyment of the entire show better because those matches were spectacular.
And the thing is, and another thing they're trying to do, they're trying to create storylines with these people, right? And let me just say this, and this is, I've said it before, but it's just like when it comes to the Cruiserweight division, Mauro Ranallo was better at telling the story than Michael Cole is. I know they're not getting the time, and they're not getting the time to perform, which is the bigger problem. But when you look at the smaller and everything about the magic that was the CWC, the way Daniel Bryan and Mauro Ranallo told the story of each match made you come into the match caring more about these people you've never seen. You don't really get that from Michael Cole. You get T.J. Perkins was homeless. That was a very small part of his story. And the fact that at some point he was homeless doing his wrestling career. And then Brian Kendrick, they've done actually a pretty good job with the whole, he's a veteran that's desperate and that kind of stuff. But like I said, it's just like they seem to be focusing on the wrong thing with TJP. You're supposed to really focus on the fact that he wrestles with this swag, this energy that comes off with the whole dabbing, and he's a real showman as opposed to, oh, he was homeless at one time in his life.
Exactly.
I mean, like Brian Kendrick said, they're wrestlers. They probably were all homeless at some point.
Yeah, no kidding. And it's just a great example, and we'll talk about NXT in a little bit, but you think about what you've seen from TJ Perkins on Raw, and then you think about that match he had with Kota Ibushi this week, that tag team match on NXT, and you watch it and you're like, okay, where's this guy been on Monday nights? It's like,
exactly.
Let him be that guy, and more importantly, let's get a truck of money, back it up to Kota Ibushi's house, and just start dumping $100 bills on this man until he says, "Fine, I'll stay."
Well, he even said, one of the lines that I respect, he says, "I don't do this for the money."
I know, but damn it, he's so well. I say that
you can't back up the truck and give something that someone doesn't care about to them.
And because the other sad thing is he'd show up on Raw and they'd screw it up.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. It's like Cruiserweight division should be on SmackDown.
Yeah, it should. Or or just put half of these guys. Just put them on SmackDown. Let's get Cedric Alexander on SmackDown. Have him work his way up the card. And who out there wouldn't want to see Cedric Alexander facing AJ Styles for the WWE World Championship? Who wouldn't want to see that? I mean, right now, I'm like, take my money.
Exactly.
Take.
I mean, I like sometimes I'll disagree, but in this case, I don't. It's just I think Cedric Alexander's one of the best workers in the best workers in the world, and I think if you give him a mic and a pretty decent storyline, he'll make it work with you.
Exactly. So on this match, who do you think? Do you think the baby faces are going over?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they're big on Tony Nese right now. That's all I keep hearing. So I'm gonna actually say the heels are gonna go over.
I could see that. Now so Nese is the one. He's the one who actually, because he is so ripped and jacked, and he's a little taller, doesn't quite look like a cruiserweight. Correct? Because some of these guys, I keep getting.
Nese is probably one of the shortest people. I mean, he looks like a pocket Hercules. He's like 5'6", but he's jacked out of his mind. Neville, Neville is the closest comparison to him. Okay. Because seriously, I think they bill him as 5'8", but I'd say he's 5'6", maybe 5'7".
Oh man, so he's like my height.
Nese is one. Yeah, okay. Nese is one of the shorter ones, but he's jacked. Okay. You know, he is. Every part of his body is muscle.
So there was a guy in the Cruiserweight Classic that had a great match with the English dude with the mustache.
Jack Gallagher?
Jack Gallagher. And he was tall and ripped, and you kind of looked at him in passing, you're like, are you sure this guy's a Cruiserweight? And it was that match Gallagher won. It was, I think, the last match he won in the series, where he won with the drop kick in the corner. Oh, I can't remember who that dude was. They need to bring that guy back. That guy was awesome. That match was awesome. Anyway, I digress. Are you seeing what your Google will tell you?
Yeah, I couldn't find it quick enough.
Okay, well, so yeah, this is a toss-up. If they give this time, it'll be a great match. But it's
on the pre-show, so they're not going to give it time.
Yeah, it'll get like 5 minutes, and that's including the intros. Okay, so up next we've got Bayley versus Dana Brooke.
I mean, Dana Brooke has kind of screwed up this rivalry. I mean, just being 100% honest, I think Bayley just gets a clean win and then it's over tonight, hopefully, because it's been bad because Dana keeps messing and botching up stuff.
Yeah, Dana just needs to, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, one of two things needs to happen with Dana Brooke. Either A, she becomes a manager and a mouthpiece that will occasionally beat people up, or B, she needs to go back to NXT.
She's really bad.
Yeah, and bless her heart, it's not for lack of trying. And she was showing real progress in NXT, and I think they pulled her way too soon. Yeah. Of course, they pulled her to stay with Emma and be Emma's, sidekick. And had Emma not gotten hurt, that probably would have still worked, because I think she works really well with Emma. And of course, them doing this whole Emmalina whatever, they need to bring Emma back with the chips glasses and the badass attitude, and put her with Dana and just let them do that thing again, because they're so good together.
I don't really have a problem with them bringing back, because I always thought when Emma was pulling off the geeky things and all that stuff, she is literally one of the most attractive women on the roster. And the fact that they want to play that up, I have no problem with.
I think no matter what, she's going to be one of the most attractive women on the roster, because...
No, I'm just saying the fact that they actually want to play that she's attractive. They were kind of trying to make her this nerdy type thing, and I'm just like, she's physically just like, she's put together, she can work well, she's just really, really attractive. And anything you see her outside of wrestling, it's like she's one of the hottest women there, and they're actually going to play that up. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I can see that. And she's really good too. And I think sometimes that's what gets lost a lot with Emma, is how actually good she is in the ring. And that's a shame. Hopefully we'll get some good feuds. I would actually enjoy an Emma Bayley feud at some point. I think they could do some really good matches.
She may run in tonight.
That would be good.
They can still do. still do Dana and Emma together without Emma doing the chips thing. I mean, it's Dana's her mouthpiece and Emma does the wrestling. I'm good with that.
That would be great. So we either, I think we're saying either Emma comes in and helps Dana, or Bayley gets a clean win and Dana goes away. One of those two things needs to happen. So, which probably means Dana's getting a clean win.
Yeah.
Up next, we've got Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. I can't just call him Big Cass. I have an issue with that. Against Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Gallows and Anderson honestly need the win. They really need the win bad. They need a pay-per-view win. They've been made to look like jamokes for a long time. They need a win, and Cass and Enzo can eat a defeat and it not hurt them.
Yeah, Cass and Enzo could lose every night and then come out the next night and do their shtick, and the fans are going to go crazy. Mm-hmm. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, they're the wrestlers of this company. They are considered wrestlers. That is what they bring to this company. And when you're the wrestling character, a wrestler, you have to win. It's just that simple.
Agreed. Next up, we've got The New Day defending the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships against Cesaro and Sheamus. I'm guessing it's going to be Big E and Kofi in this match with Xavier at ringside, which is the way it works best. Not because Xavier's not great in the ring. He actually is really good, but he's so good as a mouthpiece. New Day is going to retain, and Cesaro and Sheamus are shenanigans.
Are going to turn on each other,
probably
in the match.
Because
and I could see it even worse. Cesaro and Sheamus looking like they're about to win, and then they turn on each other. Because I truly believe this was just a holdover rivalry to get back to Gallows and Anderson to eventually give Gallows and Anderson the tag belts.
Oh yeah. This screams of, we're trying to break Demolition's record, so we need to give New Day something to do for a while to keep Gallows and Anderson away. Because I think Gallows and Anderson will be the ones to defeat the New Day, but it will be after the Demolition record is broken. So this is just a tide over.
I truly believe the New Day deserves it. I mean, I know what their record and all that stuff, but they have been the biggest tag team attraction in years in the WWE. Like, by far, they're the most popular tag team. I would put them as for the last year before, I'd say AJ and Kevin, they were the attraction of the WWE. People were waiting for them to come out.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. So, and yeah, I also think they deserve that. And plus, again, WWE being spiteful and all, at least one member of Demolition is part of that concussion lawsuit against WWE. So they're going to stick it to him.
And I agree with that. Don't get me wrong, I do. But what I would like to focus on is the fact that the New Day, they revived a dead division.
Oh yeah,
they made people care about who the tag team champions were. They deserve this record because the tag team division has been built on their name.
Oh yeah, yeah. And don't get me wrong for bringing that up. I was just bringing that up to show the fact that WWE can be petty. But yes, I agree.
Yeah, but the whole Nikki Bella breaking AJ Lee's record, that was petty. She didn't deserve it. She didn't bring anything to the women's division. She didn't deserve it. This is more of, it might be out of spite. It might be out of being petty. But the New Day has revived being the WWE Tag Team Champions of the world. People care when they say that.
Agreed.
They have gotten that belt over. To the reason I believe a SmackDown Tag Team titles works is because the New Day made.
I'm 100% in agreement. So yeah, we both agree New Day's retaining. This takes us to T.J. Perkins defending the WWE Cruiserweight Championship against the Brian Kendrick. This should be a great match. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave Kendrick the belt.
That's kind of crazy that you came out with it. We're starting to think alike because I think Kendrick's going over. Perkins is not getting any reaction as the Cruiserweight Championship. I would honestly say I'm like 55-45 that Brian Kendrick's walking out. But I could see them going with Perkins if they really love Nice and they want to get the belt on him.
True, but I mean, Kendrick could get the belt, hold it for a while, lose it to Nice. And who's to say? I mean, it could they could end up making this belt a very competitive belt where anyone in the division could take the belt at any time because they're all that good. And if they built it like that, that would actually be pretty compelling. Probably won't happen, but I'm looking forward to this match.
I would love for the Cruiserweight title match to be the new ladder match at WrestleMania.
Oh, that would be so good. Those guys would be crazy. And you could actually stick Sin Cara in there because God love his botchiness, but man, he was so good in that ladder match at WrestleMania.
And you put them in there and you let them start the show and let them blow everybody out the water.
I like it. I like it. So next up, we've got the 3 Hell in a Cell matches. Let's first of all, which one do you think is going to go on last?
Sasha and Charlotte.
Okay. I agree.
I mean, if you're going to do it and it's going to be the first time, it should be last.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think the fact that they put Owens and Rollins in a cell for no other reason other than we got to make the Universal title look important. The Universal title is going to look important because it's the biggest title in this brand. So it doesn't need the cell. And you are right. The only feud truly worthy this year of a Hell in a Cell match is Owens-Zayn. And I'm so glad it's not happening right now. That needs to happen in like 3 or 4 to 5 years after these guys have been here for a while and they've had a number of feuds, and that's the final blow-off because they both have a lot of time left in them, hopefully, and there's no reason to do it all right this minute. So let's talk about the Owens-Rollins match first. So, now the other thing is, when in the show do you think these things are going to go on? I suspect one of them's going to be really early, if not opening the show. One of them will be in the middle, and then one of them will close the show. And they're saying it's a triple.
I think Owens and Rollins will open the show.
That's kind of the way I'm leaning to. I think that would be the one to do it because you talk about a match that can really get the crowd excited. The only downside is if this match is so good and afterwards the crowd is so wiped out that they're on life support the rest of the night, that could be bad. But hopefully, where is this, by the way? Where is this? It's going to be
Boston, Massachusetts. Boston.
Okay.
It's the home of Sasha Banks.
So another reason why Sasha's going on.
They're going last.
So what do you think's going to happen in this Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship match?
Okay, I see it going one of two ways. One is, of course, Jericho tries to come out and help Kevin Owens and almost cost Kevin Owens the belt, and it sets up the Kevin Owens-Jericho feud. But the reason it does not cost him the belt is because the game returns and takes out Seth Rollins.
Ooh, okay.
I think this is the start. I mean, it's about to be November. We're about to get into Survivor Series, heading to the Royal Rumble, heading to WrestleMania. So I think this is where we start the Triple H versus Seth Rollins feud, because I believe it's like somehow the Hell in the Cell is going to come up and let Triple H in, or Triple H is already going to be under the ring, and it's going to cause the whole dynamic with Mick Foley and Stephanie and the dynamic of Triple H and Seth Rollins, and then it's going to add to the impending Kevin Owens-Chris Jericho feud. And this is going to set up what we know as Raw for the next few months.
So do you think the Rollins-Triple H thing is going to culminate at Mania?
Yes. To me, it makes sense, kind of a no-holds-barred match. Triple H is not really afraid of Seth's style. He's going to let Seth do his thing, and it's teacher versus the student, the pedigree versus the pedigree at WrestleMania, trying to getting that final push to give Seth Rollins the true babyface turn that he's supposed to be having right now.
That would, good call. Because I have no idea on this match. Other than I think this is going to be a great match.
Mm-hmm.
I think looking at this card, I think the potentially three best matches of the night are this one, Sasha Charlotte, and TJP and Brian Kendrick are the ones that are probably going to steal the show. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go with I don't know. I'm just looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's kind of gonna be hard to screw up this show because you do a Hell in a Cell, you give us a couple other matches, then you give us another Hell in a Cell, which will be Roman Reigns and Rusev. Then you get a couple matches, and then you end the show with the women. You know what? The crowd is going to be dead going in that main event. But as soon as Sasha Banks, the Boston native, music hits, they're going to be right into it.
Exactly. So yeah, in fact, I think you've got two matches potentially on this card that are great letdown matches: Bayley and Dana, and Enzo and Cass and the Club. Those are really good matches to let people deflate and rest up, because the New Day is going to have people on their feet. So the New Day is a good match maybe to be the one right before the main event. To get people going. But those other two, those are the post-Cell matches. So speaking of, let's get on to the next one. Roman Reigns versus Rusev for the United States Championship in a Hell in a Cell. Now this one, I thought, overall, this has been a pretty decent feud, mostly thanks to Rusev, because he is fantastic, and he is completely overshadowing Roman Reigns in this. But they've been, fighting off and on for a couple of years, ever since they both kind of hit the main roster, and it's kind of been inevitable, as Roman Reigns makes his ascent to the kingdom, the throne, that at some point he's going to have a major feud with Rusev, and I think this could be pretty good. His match with Bray Wyatt at last year's Hell in a Cell was actually surprisingly good. So I don't know. I
think this is going to be super violent, super violent. I think this is the one where you'll get the blood, and I don't think they'll stop it. And I think they'll actually let the match go because they're two big hulking dudes. So you're not gonna look for super big spots from them. I think they're just going to kind of beat the hell out of each other, and I would love Rusev to go over because, like I've stated, I don't think Rusev should lose a lot in a year, but I'm pretty sure Roman Reigns is going to go over.
Yeah, no, this needs to be the most violent of the three cage matches. Yeah. This needs to be the one where there's blood, there's broken tables, there's mangled chairs. Because you're right, these are two beasts of guys. These are two big-ass dudes. And they're strong dudes. And they just need to tear it up. Because that's not what we're looking for in the Owens-Rollins match or the Sasha-Charlotte match. But that's the only thing that's really going to get this crowd super into this match and behind Roman Reigns. Because I think going in, Rusev is the one that's going to get cheered.
Yes.
And I'm with you. My hope is that Rusev wins. My fear, for lack of a better term, or just kind of, fear, I guess, is that Roman Reigns is going to walk away with it. But, it's like, where do you go from here with these guys? If Rusev wins, you could see him, going on to feuding with someone else, or even Reigns gets his rematch or whatever. But if Reigns wins, it's like, it begs the question: what do you do with these two guys after this? Because I don't know.
That's going to be the big idea. I'm guessing if you're going to do anything, you throw after the Sami Zayn and Braun Strowman is. You throw Strowman to Reigns, and maybe Sami Zayn to Rusev.
So Braun Strowman now gets to hit the new brick wall that used to be named John Cena, that's now named Roman Reigns. Okay. I'd rather see Strowman before he gets to Reigns. I want to see him go have a feud with the Big Show, just so the Big Show can send him off as the new giant. And maybe they're going to wait and do that after Mania, because Show is going to have his match at Mania with Shaq, unless they make that his last match, and they could bill it as his last match, and maybe that's the way they should do it. But he needs to put over Strowman before he calls it a day. But yeah, maybe, and Rusev and Sami Zayn could be a lot of fun. So that takes us to the real main event. Sasha Banks defending the WWE Raw Women's Championship against Charlotte in a Hell in a Cell. And yeah, like you said, that place is going to become unglued when her music hits. I can't wait.
I would say on this match, I'm really focusing on all the history of it. First women's match in the Hell in a Cell. First women match to main event a pay-per-view. Sasha and Charlotte, the whole situation there. This is our women's version of Flair and Steamboat. It's pretty much everything that the women have been asking for. And if it's not a 5-star match, I'm just going to be like, it has to be a 5-star match. I mean, there's no way around it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fantastic match, because their last match, or the match that when Charlotte won the title back, when Sasha had a messed up back during most of the match, it was still a fantastic match. Here's what I want to have happen. I want Sasha to win, because you go out on a big high note, hometown girl gets her win, yay, and then come out on Monday and cut the most arrogant heely promo and turn heel and become the boss character, and to say, you know what, I was the first woman to be in a main event of an NXT TakeOver show. I was the first woman to be in the main event of a WWE pay-per-view, and I am the 2-time Raw Women's Champion, and I'm the best. No one can touch me.
Okay. I mean, I completely, I'm down with that. I think her as a face is just boring, so she's going to have to do something as far as that with the heel. And if I would be okay with, after her winning, Charlotte kind of going away for a few weeks.
Yes.
And just kind of like, and then Charlotte comes back and feuds with someone else, maybe Bayley, as in Bayley trying to get to that spot with Sasha. But I believe like Charlotte, Charlotte shouldn't just be like, come back Monday and like, I want another match. That would just ruin the importance of this match. I hope on Monday everyone's selling it. You remember how the Hardys and Dudleys, when on the TLC match, their first TL, how they would come out all wrapped up and they like, no, and they would sell it to the point where they couldn't perform the next night. I hope that they do that. That would be great.
Oh yeah, WWE in the last few years has done a pitiful job of selling brutality of matches, and that they need to. All 6 of those people, the ones at least that show up on Monday, need to barely be walking out. Agreed. So that's Hell in a Cell. That's the end of Hell in a Cell. So that's it for this. Overall, what are your expectations? You think it's going to be a good show? You looking forward to it? You skeptical?
I honestly think it's going to be a great show. I really do. I think it's going to probably be Raw's best pay-per-view yet. And it's too many spots where you can't mess it up.
Yeah, true. So how many, this is the second Raw pay-per-view? Second.
Second,
yeah.
Yeah.
So it has a potential of being the best Raw pay-per-view, yeah, for sure this year. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not like, jumping up and down, giddy with excitement, but there are matches on here that I'm looking at. I'm going, okay, these could be really stinking good. So I'm looking forward to it, and it's there's so many pay-per-views.
But I think you're the way it's lining up. I wanted to bring this up, and I forgot for a second. I think they're gonna do Survivor Series as the next pay-per-view. We're gonna get a few weeks before Survivor Series. I think 3 before Survivor Series. But most importantly, I don't think the titles are gonna be on the line. I think you were correct in that. I think the women's champions are gonna lead the rosters, so I think that's gonna also give them a chance to reset some of their storylines.
I hope so. But speaking of, on SmackDown, I thought Nikki Bella won a match that makes her the leader of the women of the women's team. Or do you think that's going to just turn into she and Carmella are going to have a match on Survivor Series, which actually would be a better thing to do. I think they need to have, because you can't have all of the women unless all you have is 5 women. But put Nikki and Carmella, because when Daniel Bryan mentioned that on SmackDown, I was like, wait a minute, hold up. Why isn't Becky Lynch leading this? Because she's the champion.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that. I mean, it's going to be, of course, a super show. You'll have those 3 matches, and, I mean, the tag match is going to literally have 20 people in it. You're looking at that. The tag match is going to have 20 people in it. The Raw men's and women's match are going to have 10 people in it. So we're looking at 40 people in 3 matches.
Well, that's a really good payday for all those people, man. That's...
Yeah, and then you got Goldberg and Lesnar, and so
and probably
that's the whole.
Yeah,
probably a cruiserweight match. So I'm just saying, the way the card's building up, I mean, yeah, I don't see where SmackDown could have the champion versus a woman. I don't think they have 5 other women.
Yeah, it wouldn't make any. They need to have the champions on these teams. It just makes no sense otherwise.
Yeah.
But so one of my big takeaways from SmackDown this week is, my God, Alexa Bliss is great on the mic.
She is, and she's getting better, because like that first time she was on Talking Smack, it seems like it's unscripted, and it seemed like she wasn't quite ready. But ever since then, it has been nothing but gold. So I am really high on Alexa right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and everything, just her facial, the faces that she makes, and that's what sometimes what sells it so well is she's getting better in the ring, but on the mic she is so incredibly good, and
they feud so well that I hope it does main event that SmackDown on November 8th.
Yes, I agree. Now, is that the one in Glasgow? Is that a SmackDown episode, or is that just a house show? Okay, it is an episode. Okay,
yes.
So, which means it will be pre-recorded. It won't be live because time zones.
Yeah,
but that better main event.
And better main event.
And I'm thinking that Becky's going to retain. I think Becky needs to retain.
Yeah, Becky needs to retain for a while until they build up someone to her level.
Agreed. And besides, how cool would it be? You get when the Raw team and the SmackDown team face off, and there will be that moment where Becky and Sasha are in the ring, champion versus champion, and the place will just light up. And
if they clear the ring at some point, and there's Becky, Sasha, Bayley, and Charlotte all in the ring, or if it ends up them as the last 4 in the Survivor Series format, that would be awesome.
That would be. Of course, that would be 3 of them are on the Raw side.
Yeah, it would be 3 against 1.
Oh, but you know what would be cool about that? Okay, you got it. This is how this needs to be booked. Is it comes down to Becky is alone on the SmackDown side, and it is Bayley, Charlotte, and Sasha on the Raw side, and one by one Becky takes them out, and Becky ends up winning.
Yeah, and she gets the clean sweep.
Yep.
Because she has been kind of the fourth person in that whole group.
Yes.
She was the last to win world champion and all that kind of stuff. And it would build up the SmackDown Women's title as pretty much the premier title.
Yeah, that would be so good. And yeah, because she never won the NXT championship.
Yeah.
And, you could make a very valid argument that in the ring, she is the best of the four of them.
Yeah.
Okay, Survivor Series, get here. I need to see that.
See, and let me just say this. As far as the best of the four of them, I mean, she's my favorite, but I think they're all on such a great level as far as in-ring performances that it was, to me, they're the women version of the Radicals, where they were all good. You can't say a 1, 2, 3, or 4. You might have your preference, but they're all amazing in the ring.
Yeah, and when I don't even know if it's like, because I look at them and I think my overall favorite of those four is probably Bayley, just because I love her so much as a character. When I think about in ring, it's like, it's Becky and then Sasha and then Charlotte and then Bayley. But we're talking, I mean, they are hair differences apart. And the Radicals, that's a perfect example. Because
that's the best wrestling, what you would call faction ever.
Yeah, that was the Radicals. That was when they came to WWE, right?
Yeah, they came to WWE, and they were the Radicals that got pushed out of the WCW. And it was like you had Jericho. Not Jericho. Benoit, Malenko, Perry Saturn. And this is just like an Eddie Guerrero. You had two future world champions. Dean Malenko, probably one of the best in-ring performers as far as technicians ever. And you had Perry Saturn that just, he one of those things, he had the look, but he could work really, really well.
He was so misused. I don't think WWE knew what to do with him. And he's so good. He's so underrated.
As far as he was the crazy one of the Radicals. But you know what? I give all credit to all the people that will do the funny and the horrible gimmicks that they give him, and because he sold it with the horse, he sold the crap out of that gimmick, and I was okay with it.
Yeah, I also liked the group.
Or
they
Moppy.
had.
Was it Moppy?
Yeah, it was Moppy. Yeah, it was Moppy.
Moppy. Oh, I forgot who the horse was. Who rode the horse on a stick to the ring? I couldn't remember that.
I don't want to know. That needs to not ever be in my head. But I even liked that group when they were in WCW with Shane Douglas, when Eddie was doing his own thing, and they were Revolution, or whatever, or as everyone referred to them as the New Four Horsemen. That's what we were like. Oh, hey, it's a new Four Horsemen, and that was WCW dropping the ball, but WWE got 4 fantastic workers out of it, and but that would be Becky needs. Yeah, I agree. Becky needs to be the sole survivor. Needs to win Survivor Series. And, one thing I think will be good with these super shows, if they can have it so there's a good 3-week period after the last, give at least 3 weeks between the previous pay-per-views and the super show to give everyone a time to rest and to let things kind of simmer down and build up what's going on in the super shows to make those more important. So that's going to be nice. I'm really looking forward to the fact that in 2 weeks after tonight, there's not another pay-per-view.
Yes, and I'm going to look forward to those Sundays where I don't have anything to do, and I will look forward to actually getting excited for a pay-per-view, which I haven't been for a while because they come so quick that you don't have time to be excited.
Yep. So, did you have any other? Well, I had one other takeaway from SmackDown, and that's the fact that Nikki Bella has a much better looking STF than John Cena.
Yes. Well, she added the part. She pulled up I forgot what she did, and it just looks way more aggressive. And I think it comes from Carmella being like super flexible too. Is that she could bend her that way, and it just not Carmella, Natty being super flexible, where she could bend that way, and it actually worked out for her. So it was a really good STF. It looked really. By that being as I could actually buy that as her finisher, and it's kind of weird that they're saying they were trying to get away from her being John Cena's girlfriend. That's the reason she gets anything, and then her move starts from a fireman's carry, just like John Cena, and now she's using a modified version of the STF as her finisher. So it's like, which way are you going with this?
Yeah, no kidding. That it was because what she had when she put it on, when she was grabbing Natty's head, is she had her in a chin lock, and then she had with her right hand in the chin lock, and then she had with her left arm, she actually had it around Natty's foot, and then locked hands.
Yes,
and it looked because the ST when John Cena puts that on somebody, I'm like, dude, he could put that on me, and I'm just gonna lay there. The only thing that's going to hurt is the fact that he is a gigantic man laying on top of me.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that he's super, super strong, if he was actually pulling up on your head, yes, that move would look devastating. But the fact that he just kind of makes some muscle and flexes, it literally does nothing.
It is so bad. It's the worst. He is so awful at that move. It looks so terrible. But yeah, Nikki Bella, man, my hat's off to her. And she is someone, for as much crap as that poor girl gets, and who knows if it's deserved or not, she does come off as fairly vapid. But she has improved in the last 2 to 3 years, a lot in the ring. I mean, you go from looking at what she was doing pre-Paige showing up, and then what she has done post-Page, and it's almost night and day. It's like she had this realization, oh shit, I need to get good if I'm going to stay, because we've got Paige is just the first one coming up. There are a bunch of other girls who are just as good, if not better than her, coming. And so yeah, I mean, she's stepped it up, and
that mask that she added first, when you really could start telling the Bellas, other than the two obvious reasons, but when you really could start telling the Bellas apart is when she started putting on all that muscle, and you could see that she was like bigger than everyone else. And I really bought the forearm, and I actually bought the rack finisher. But when people were hating on her, I would say, and of course I hate the Bellas, don't get me wrong, but I said you can tell she's either learned something from John Cena, from either him actually teaching her or just watching him. She does what she does, and she does what she does well. She doesn't miss timing. She does her 5 or 6 moves, and she does those well every match. And, in wrestling, not everyone's going to be Shawn Michaels. Sometimes you just need to have your gimmick and have your move set, and just be able to pull that off and try to mix it up in matches to make it look different, and just be a solid wrestler and not hurt anyone. And she does that. She is a very solid performer. It's just with the Women's Revolution, and then Paige before that and AJ before that, they were just so much better than she was. But she is very vanilla as a wrestler, but I can see her trying to improve.
Yeah, and you're right. That forearm. I remember was it the first time she used that against Brie, when she did that turn on Brie and sided with Stephanie, because that forearm looks like she just about takes her head off. That really should be her finisher, because one, it's not going to hurt her. Because the rack attack I liked it too. It was cool, but it jacked her up. And she wasn't using it that long, and it messed up her neck bad. So I'm glad she's moved away from that move. And you got to think over time that's probably not very good on your knees either. Just the way that move works, but that forearm is so brutal. Love that move. Now what about you? Did you have any takeaways from SmackDown?
The Randy Orton Bray Wyatt thing, I think from the first match they should hopefully they very much go with Randy Orton joining the Wyatt family. I think that adds a formidable faction as those two is the power team with Luke Harper. I think it's more going to head to, Randy Orton trying to play Bray Wyatt, which it's so obvious. I'm like, go the other way. Go the other way, please. And let's see. The whole Miz turning down the title opportunity from Dolph Ziggler, I thought it was perfectly heel and perfectly kind of squirmy. I don't want the match until I'm ready for the match. I love that part. And last but not least, the co-MVPs of SmackDown over the last few weeks, AJ Styles and James Ellsworth, the No Chin music, and how that show ended. It was so compelling, so perfect. That match had me on the edge of my seat. And even when they had the moment where he's sitting there looking at AJ and I could tell he was going to kick him, I was waiting for him to actually hit the move to see if they would do the thing where he realizes he shouldn't kick him and then just kind of throws AJ in the ring to Dean, or he actually goes through the kick and messes up. So that works.
Yeah, he is a good super kick, man.
Yeah, he does have a good super kick. I mean, he's been wrestling for 14 years. He better be able to do something good. But that super kick's pretty nice.
Yeah, that match was a lot of fun. And you're right. AJ and Ellsworth have been so good. And I like the whole subtle thing of Dean, because Dean came off as the cool guy in high school who was nice to the nerdy guy for a while while he was using him, and then as soon as the nerdy guy's like, "Hey man, that's fun, let's do something again," he's like, "No, dude, you need to slow your roll and back up." And he played that dynamic really well. But yeah, his look on his face, and the ref just standing there for a few seconds going, "Dude, what are you doing?" And then Dean, "Please don't do it. Don't end the match." And the guy's like, "I got you, man. Sorry."
That was actually Mike Chioda. He's been doing this forever, and that was perfect. Oh my God, that was so perfect. And how they sold it, the look on the face and all that stuff. I think they might be building up to a Dean heel turn, because you know what? There's no better person to turn heel on than James Ellsworth. Everyone's going to automatically hate you as soon as you go off on him.
That is true. But then does AJ Proxy turn face?
I don't think AJ goes all the way face. I think he honestly plays more of a face-ish role, but he's still the annoying dude, because I think WWE might be on to the fact that he can't really cut a face promo that well. So I think he'll still be kind of heel-ish.
Yeah, he'd be a good tweener. And with Randy kind of joining the Wyatt family, which anyone could have saw that coming a mile away, you could almost see that you could pair Randy off going after the title, or Bray going after the title, and the other one going after Ambrose. Mm-hmm. And that could turn into some really compelling tag team matches. Or you bring in someone else as a third party, brand with Luke Harper, and you have some 6-man tag matches. So that right there is potential, main event fodder for a few months. And those could be really good matches. So I would actually enjoy that. That would be, Randy joining the Wyatt family, and them taking on AJ and Dean. AJ and Dean have to become reluctant partners. Maybe even add Ellsworth in there, and at some point Dean snaps and takes out Ellsworth, turns heel, but still has to fight Bray. And maybe even at that point you have the Wyatts kind of turn babyface. The only thing that I was a little afraid of in watching this whole thing unfold with Randy Orton is Randy Orton's really good when he's motivated, and his RKO and then his whole if you can't beat him, join him. It really looked more like Randy just going through the motions, Randy, and that can be horribly boring. So I'm hoping maybe I'm misreading it.
Going along with that is that the idea is Randy has always been okay on the mic, but not good. And the fact that he would have Bray Wyatt as his mouthpiece would add so much to his character.
Yep, you're right. So that has potential. So that was pretty much SmackDown for this week. Let's talk about NXT. Did you see NXT this week?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did. Actually, I enjoyed NXT this week. The whole, let's see, I'm trying to remember the matches, honestly, because I remember I watched it all. But I don't. The biggest takeaway I had was the Nakamura Joe thing, and it really just didn't. I'm really like my level. I was like, I can't stand Nakamura, and like you can just tell he's coming along and everything that he does, and they're telling a really compelling story with Nakamura and Joe, and it's making me really look forward to TakeOver. And I mean, if anything, you hope the main roster can learn about building up a feud. They haven't wrestled in a singles match, a no DQ match, a this match, or that match. They haven't been standing outside of each other's, but they have built a feud where you like these two people hate each other.
Yeah, it's been a great build-up. Now, did you like or did you see any of Nakamura's stuff in New Japan?
No, I can honestly say, as a wrestling fan, that would be a hole in my knowledge. I do not watch a lot of the Japanese wrestling generally, unless someone like sends me a link to a match. Like I watched Kenny Omega's performance this year, pretty much every match he's done, and it's made me a huge fan as far as that. But it was the Super J Cup. But other than that, I don't watch a lot of New Japan stuff.
Did you see the Nakamura AJ match from Wrestle Kingdom?
No, I saw Nakamura versus Brock Lesnar. Someone sent me that one, and that was a really good match. Just because, of course, it's Brock Lesnar. Nakamura had to carry most of the match, and it was pretty cool.
Now that would be something. Can you imagine at some point down the line, Brock is in the ring and Paul Heyman, there's nobody left. Brock's conquered them all. Nakamura's music hits.
Oh. Yeah.
Because he's a guy. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, go for it.
I was going to say Nakamura is a guy that I could believe could have a fight with Lesnar and not get completely destroyed.
Yeah. His strikes look amazing. And like I said, I always I don't know if he's actually hitting him, but when he gets him on the ground and does that knee thing, I'm like, dude, that could be a finisher, because it just looks like he could destroy a human being with those knees.
Yeah, agreed. So maybe in a year or so, Brock's, being Brock-like after a Mania or something, and then Nakamura's music hits, and that would be so cool.
That would be cool.
So I really enjoyed on NXT this week the DIY match, the Gargano Ciampa, but I really enjoyed any time they're in the ring. They were against Ho-Ho Moon and the 6 foot tall Chinese guy that they signed to this year.
He has a good look. He has a really good look.
He does, and you don't see a lot of Chinese guys that are over 6 feet tall. So yeah, he's a good look. It was the Corey Graves joke about ho-hos and cupcakes and zingers. I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And Tom Phillips said, "You've been waiting a long time to get to say that, haven't you?" And Corey Graves said, "Well, I got it in, didn't I?" I love the dynamic that those two have. They are so good together. And Corey Graves, he has gotten so good from compared to when he first started on commentary to now, both on NXT and on Raw. He is so good.
He plays the bully so well.
Oh yeah. And
Saxton doesn't come back well enough for me. The other guys, like, he's getting bullied, but he's kind of like, you know you are but one of my kind of thing, and it works. But Saxton doesn't reply really well to the bullying.
No, but Saxton's kind of role is he's the guy who gets beat up on. And there was at one point during one of the matches where Corey Graves compared Tom Phillips to Saxton, and Tom got really offended.
And he said, "Don't you hear me?"
That was the best. I also the Kota Ibushi, T.J. Perkins against Lince Dorado, and who was the other dude? Whoever it was, that main event was fantastic. That was so much fun.
So good. We don't remember the guy's name. That's awesome. I feel like from watching these tournaments and stuff, I feel like they could do like an 8-team CWC tag team tournament, and I just think it would draw just as much as the CWC actual tournament, just because it's just so much combinations. These dudes have been wrestling for years, and it's the contrast of styles. That is what I've always liked about wrestling. CWC was what I liked about wrestling in a nutshell. You could have a power wrestler, a technical wrestler, a high-flying wrestler. Everyone has their own signature style, and that's what I love about wrestling. It was like MMA, but not. And it was everything I love, so I would love to see that in a tag team type tournament if they would want to do something like that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And this match was so much fun, and it reminded me of how much I've missed Kota Ibushi already. And he is so good, and and it doesn't matter that I think he can speak like maybe 3 words of English, because that promo beforehand, and that was some of the best talking we've heard out of T.J. Perkins, period. And it's again, I'm watching this, I'm going, where's that guy on Monday? Can we get that
you
guy
know
on
what?
Monday?
He got to talk about wrestling. He didn't have to play this character that wants everybody to be sad for him because he was homeless at one point in time. He's just like, him and Sasha Banks are kind of playing the same character right now, and it's annoying.
Yeah. They need to just talk about wrestling, and because that's what he's good at. He talks about wrestling, and he's a great wrestler. So,
and his natural personality is somewhat cocky. So I thought when he won the tournament, he was going to come out and be the heel, because with the whole dabbing and all that kind of stuff, I felt like it came off more heelish than facious. But they decided they wanted him against TBK as their first feud, so Brian Kendrick had to be the heel. Yeah.
So, did you watch anything else this week? Any TNA? Anything?
No. My schedule's changed. I work the evenings now, so no. It was all I could do to make sure I watch wrestling, and then I watch my in my TV shows in the morning to catch up from the night before. So yeah, it was all I could do to make sure I got all my all the stuff that I needed to talk about on as far as any elective wrestling that I would watch.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way. I listened, interestingly, I listened to a non-wrestling podcast over the weekend. There was over the weekend prior to Halloween every year in Gainesville, Florida, there's a punk rock music festival called The Fest. And
yes, I saw you write about it.
Yes, and it's the one festival, if I could go to every year, that's where I would want to go, because it's always tons of bands I love. It's a small environment, and I would love to go to it. But during the podcast I was listening to, which is called Rocket Fuel, which anyone that is into punk rock or any of those sorts of things, you should listen to Rocket Fuel. It's a really good show. But apparently, the guy who runs Fest is also a big wrestling fan, and they have started Fest Wrestling. And they brought in Colt Cabana and a bunch of other people. They even commissioned a belt, and so I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
like, wow, that's awesome. And something else, I've been doing some research in local wrestling affiliate territories or feds, and I've seen the folks that put on Oklahomania. That is it. The I word, yeah.
Imperial Wrestling Revolution.
Thank you.
They're very much. They're old to the old school of wrestling. It's run by the owner Jerry Bostic. It's a very much they focus on the show the 80s, 90s wrestling, what made us love wrestling.
Yeah. And he's that's we're gonna have him on the show at some point. Probably closer to the time when there is they've got an event going on. But I was looking at their website and their their roster, the people they've got, and it really made me think that these guys, they're like IWR is the Oklahoma version of PWG, of AAW, in that it is a super indie. It might not have the notoriety no one has the notoriety that PWG has as far as the super indies are concerned. But AAW out in Chicago does the same thing, where they bring in the best of the best in independent wrestling and put on these big-ass shows. And they also have, local and regional talent that they're building up in those shows. But when I looked at, like, the Oklahomania card and everything they had going on there, and at their website, I'm like, wow, we have our own mini super indie in Oklahoma. And that's freaking awesome. And I'm going to have to, at some point, I'm going to have to make it out to one of their shows, because I have not been to any independent wrestling in Oklahoma, and I feel bad about that.
I even actually have a favorite. It's this guy named Bolt Brady. He's on the roster. He's out of Austin, Texas, and dude is put together on a way that I've seen very few people put together, and he can fly. So I'd definitely like to, next time there's a show, we should go to that one together, and then we can cover it on the show.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We should do that. And so hopefully something might be coming along at some point. Won't really talk about it yet, but hopefully that'll come down. And so yeah, if so, everyone out there is, we do. If you're listening to this and you love professional wrestling, and I've got to put my money where my mouth is and get some indie shows. But if you can, get out to some indie shows, and even if it's Ring of Honor, and it's hard to. Some people argue that they really can't even be called an independent anymore since they're owned by a major corporation. But they're an indie wrestling organization as far as I'm concerned. But it's your local and your regional organizations that bring in people from all over. If you can, get out and support those. Get out and support the smaller folks that are, in high school gyms and in VFW halls, because you might get in for like $5, and you probably see some of the best matches you've ever seen, and you might see some absolute train wrecks, which would be also a lot of fun. So if you can, get out to that stuff, because the people putting on those shows would certainly appreciate it, because WWE doesn't give a fuck about what you do at all. So let's, it's time for our top 5, and our top 5 this week, and it is in honor of the returning Bill Goldberg top 5 spears. Now, both you and I have mentioned before, we're not huge fans of this move, at least as a finisher.
Yes, not a fan of it as a finisher.
So doing a list where a lot of these people use it as finishers was a bit of a challenge, but the parameters are basically, this is listing our five folks who use a spear at either as a finisher or as some kind of good setup move. Not specific times that they hit spears, but yeah, so that's it. So did you have any honorable mentions?
I did not. It was very hard for me to even come up with my list of 5 because, again, I don't like the spear as a finisher.
Well, I've got one honorable mention, and that is Roman Reigns. Even though there's a part of me that just groans inside every time he hits a spear. It's the same reaction I have every time John Cena hits an AA, which is great. So, but
yeah, he doesn't hit it with the velocity and impact some of the other people on my list do, and that is why he's not on the list. It's just I think he adds like somewhat of a jumping type aspect to it. I don't know what I'm not. It's very funny because I usually can put my technical what I see technically as in, hey, he does this differently. It's like he jumps and it really does look soft. It's not the jarring impact that a lot of these other spears have had.
And occasionally he'll hit a really good one. And normally I think what he does, especially when it's outside of the ring, is he will be in the air for a while before he hits you. He's had a few where he's come running down and he will, like, it seems like jump a good 5 feet in the air before he hit Rusev. And those were the ones that I like. His normal in the match, hits a spear, LOL, he wins. Those are just, I mean, that having been said, I don't want to take one. I do not want a former football player running at me and throwing his shoulder full, even, quarter speed into my stomach. No, thank you. I will pass. So who is your number 5?
The reason a tackle works, I was going to say the reason a tackle works is the whiplash effect. And I think whiplash effect, and he takes that away doing the spear the way he does it.
That is true. So number 5.
Number 5, because I definitely believe in the women's revolution and equality, my number 5 is Charlotte. I am going to say the one she used more in NXT than the one she's done into the main roster is like she's taken a little velocity off of it. But I like how Charlotte does the spear. And she was using it as a setup move for a while for the natural selection.
Man, I totally forgot about her using the spear. Okay, so she would be my honorable mention. Most likely, because and definitely about equality. I didn't think of her, man. And she does. She's hit some brutal ones too, mostly in NXT. And now sometimes she hits it and it doesn't look so good. But so my number 5 is one that's it's definitely a setup move, and that's Johnny Gargano and his spear through the ropes.
Oh, okay. I didn't even think of that one. So that was a good catch on that one.
And I'm not even going to lie. I thought of that one because I watched NXT this morning, and he did that in the match. And I was like, oh, crap. That's right. That's awesome. But yeah.
Good catch. I didn't think of that one.
Yeah. So number 4.
Number 4, you've heard him on one of my lists before. It is the former football player Moose. The thing when he did it in ROH, he did it with a little flip at the end. Even when I saw him and met him, I told him to, take away the flip. But he was like, it was the only, when he told me why he did it, he was like, it was the only thing that made his spear different than everybody else's spear. So I was like, okay, I completely understand that. And that was it. So it did add a little flair to the spear, but apparently, it clearly took the impact off of the move. So, because he was thinking about doing a flip instead of the tackle, but I still like the move enough to give him the 4 spot.
And my number 4 is also Moose, but I actually like the flippy thing at the end. Just because and for that very reason he mentioned, it is so different. And he is, even though it takes off a lot of the force of the move, especially when he was in Ring of Honor, he was so much larger than damn near everyone else that, even at a quarter, third of the force, it's still going to take your, to knock you loopy, because it's it's Sasquatch hitting you like that, and it's in some cases, some of those matches, it looked like you had Bigfoot standing next to Frodo.
Yeah, and it was funny because it just added to his mystique and how big he is. And then he get into TNA where he has some bigger dudes, and he's still the biggest guy in the block, or the biggest guy in the yard. So he's just an impressively large man.
And he's also super athletic, and he pulls off some really good high risk maneuvers. Yeah. He's a real talented guy. So let's move on. Who is your number 3?
Number rated R superstar. He turned it into a rock star move, Edge. It was I didn't like it when he did it, and I kind of still don't because he was so small, and I truly thought it should be a football player move, but he got it over. He really did. His whole rock star persona, it really added something to the move, and he would always do this. Once he hit this spear, he would pop up. Like that was the finale, and that added so much to the move.
He is on my list, just not yet. So I'll talk about him in a bit. My number 3, Rhino.
Okay.
Hitting the gore.
He is on the list. Not yet.
Yeah. So who is your number 2?
Okay, and I honestly did not remember this if we were supposed to leave him off the list, but it is Goldberg, number 2.
No, we better not have left him off the list.
No, number 2 was Goldberg. He was the first person I really remember doing the move. I've seen people go in the 3-point stands, but he was the first person that I've seen do it, and he did it with the implant packed and the whiplash and everything added to it. And it was the setup for the jackhammer, which worked even better because most of the time you felt like the dude was out from the spear, but the jackhammer just was that exclamation point on it. So, Goldberg.
He's on my list, but not yet. My number 2 is Edge.
Okay.
And, I love that he added that little pop-up. And, despite the fact that he's tall but a skinny man, his spear looked brutal. Like he would drive that bony shoulder into your gut, and he hit it with such velocity, and there was a good whiplash effect, which I'm sure the people taking the move did not appreciate, but it looked great. Yeah, I just and that spear from the when Jeff Hardy was hanging, holding the belt from the
best spear ever.
Oh yeah, and how Edge didn't break his neck on that is the other amazing thing.
He probably did some damage to it because he eventually ended up having to have neck surgery. So
yeah. All right, so who is your number 1?
My number 1 is the Man Beast Rhino. Right. I just think the 3 aspects that makes him number 1. The move. Number 2, he just does it with the explosion. There's Jake's DDT, and then there's Rhino's gore. And number 3, the way Joey Styles called it. That added everything to that move. Gore! And he would just seriously, the way he called it and then him hitting the move, you felt like if God had taken that gore, he wasn't going to get up. I'm just saying, he just sold it with that. That's why I tell people about how much I say an announcer can do something. He made me think the person died from getting tackled that hard.
Yeah, his is good. It's interesting. Our top 3 are the same guys, just in slightly different order.
Yes.
Because my number 1 is Goldberg, and he was the first person I ever saw do it, and I want to say it was his second or third match on Nitro when he did that. And I remember those first few months, he looked like he straight up killed people. Because it was almost like he forgot he wasn't on the football field anymore. And you saw those, and I remember I just had this.
I'm just going to tackle you, so just
yeah. And I remember watching the match, and the first time I saw him do it, and he did it, and I think I audibly went, "Oh shit," because it was so brutal. And then the jackhammer and I love the jackhammer. Something I would love to see someone do is a jackhammer from the top rope.
That would be amazing. It's actually on. The video game where you can use that as a finisher.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. That would be cool. Because I think a jackhammer from the top rope would be pretty damn brutal. Because I think the jackhammer I always loved as a move. I thought it was a great move. But, yeah. So, the four of our 5 were the same on this list.
Yeah.
Great minds.
Charlotte and Johnny were the only ones we changed.
Yep.
But I mean, it's a move where it's fairly simple, but it's all about the theatrics around the move.
That it is. So that was our top 5 for this week. So we've had some ideas for some upcoming top 5s that we've been kicking around. So, and I thought of another one. So we've been thinking about top 5 sellers. That's one we're doing next week, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.
And it's honestly, I've actually started to look into it a little this week because, I mean, with the history of wrestling, selling being such a part of it, you wanna make sure you get some good people on that list, and hopefully I have a few surprises.
I hope so, because I'm actually racking my brain. It's like the top 3 I came up with almost instantaneously, and then number 4 came to me today, and because I wasn't sure if we were doing this one or not, I came up with a couple honorable mentions and a number 5, but they were because I was like, oh crap, I need to think of something. So I'm gonna have to do some more thought, because I've got 4 on there for sure are no-brainers, I think. But I think, future, we've talked about doing a top 5 spine busters. Another one I think we need to do in the future at some point, top 5 super kicks.
Oh, yeah.
And so we can, in honor of James Ellsworth, we could do that one upcoming.
The no chin music,
no
man.
Chin music. It's so good. I really hope Otunga just came up with that out of nowhere and that wasn't written down, because that was so good. It was.
It seems like just corny enough for it to come off the top of his head.
Yeah, he hit him with no chin music.
Yeah.
The best thing David Otunga's done.
I did want to add something.
Yeah, okay.
With the WrestleMania, for all those people that are going to WrestleMania, they actually changed the schedule a little bit this year. Oh. And I just wanted this year, the Hall of Fame's on Friday night. And so NXT can be in the Amway Center, which is the bigger venue. NXT will be Saturday. WrestleMania will be Sunday. Of course, WrestleMania is in the Citrus Bowl. And then Monday and Tuesday, Raw and SmackDown are also in the Amway Center. So for the people going to WrestleMania, we're going to have 4 days of wrestling shows. And the Hall of Fame is on Friday night. I hardly ever go to the Hall of Fame. I may go this year, but it depends on who's going in.
Yeah.
But but for fans of people that have added, that's a huge upgrade for NXT, is that it's going to be in the same center as the Raw and the SmackDown, because it's going to sell out. Everyone last year in Dallas, it was the hottest ticket in town to get in the building. I mean, like, to get to the very top row of that arena, you had to pay $250. You could get into WrestleMania for $36.
Oh, damn.
It was the hottest ticket in the city.
Wow. Man, so real quick, speaking of Hall of Fame, other than I think it's probably safe to say Goldberg is going in and will probably headline this year's Hall of Fame. Who do you think might else be in this year?
You know what? It's they always surprise me with some of the names that they put in. It being in Florida, you think somebody, I'm thinking like someone that used to run the Florida territory, I would think, but like Dusty Rhodes is already in there, so I was like, maybe the Graham family. Kevin Sullivan could go in, definitely could go in. It's funny because if they want to put Kevin Sullivan in and they're showing his great rivalries, there's a certain rivalry, which was his most popular one, they will never show a match from, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
But honestly, I would have to actually sit down and really, really think about it, because they've added so many people, but there's this clear list of people that aren't getting in that you have to take into consideration.
Yeah, you know who would be a good one, since it's going to be in Florida and since his career started in Florida, would be Lex Luger.
That would be good. A lot of controversy around putting Lex Luger in, especially what a lot of people believe he had to do with not actually killing her, but the reason Miss Elizabeth passed away, and she was such a beloved character in wrestling. He may never get in, but he may, because he's really changed his life around. So Luger may get in. I could see it. I would be happy with it. When I was younger, I'd say 7, 8 area, Lex Luger was one of my guys. I loved the Human Torture Rack. I used to put my little sister in it. Because she was the only person small enough for her I could actually pick up and do that to. But yeah, I used to love the Human Torture Rack, and I would love to see him get in. Like Florida ties are a big deal. I'd love for them to put Owen in this year. Owen Hart.
Yeah.
I would love for that to happen. And I believe the British Bulldog's not in. I would love to see that happen. I would love to see them actually put a tag team in, the Dudley Boys. I would love for that to happen, because I don't think the tag teams are getting enough love in that situation. So I definitely, if you want to put, I know Ric Flair's the double Hall of Famer, and that's rare, but I think you should put maybe Edge and Christian in as or I could see actually Christian wrestles out of Tampa. I could see him going into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Because he is officially retired now.
That would work.
But I would rather them put ENC in, like Edge and Christian, the tag team in.
Yeah, I could see that. That would be good. And you're going to eventually have more people in there more than once, because you could make a really, really good argument for Barry Windham going in the Hall of Fame by himself, not just as a member of the Horsemen.
Yeah, honestly, Arn Anderson definitely.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, I don't think he would. I don't think he would do it. He feels like he's in as the Horseman. He's in with Rick. That's all that mattered to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is Vader in yet?
I don't think so. So he needs to go in. So
Vader
would be a
goes.
good one.
I think Vader goes in this year as a Hall of Famer. He's worked with the WWE, and he's done a table of 3, and that's kind of what leads you to getting in. I think Molly Holly could get in, because they like to put in a woman every year if she's not already in.
What about?
I honestly don't know the list off the top of my head of Hall of Famers, because, like I said, there's so many people that are clearly should be in, like
right.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, well, thankfully he finally got in. What about his Mickie James? I wonder, since they're bringing her back in for that match with Asuka.
Yeah, and that would be cool. That would be cool with Mickie James, because you just put in Lita and Trish in the last few years, and then put in Mickie James because she kind of went along with that too. I could see that. You're gonna eventually, because I feel like there's pressure to put in a woman every year. You're gonna see some women that I don't necessarily think deserve it. I think you'll see Michelle McCool get in eventually, maybe Layla, just because of what they did. So we'll see.
Yeah,
but it's an interesting topic, because you look at the Hall of Fame, and I was like, you to me personally, I would be a lot more exclusive. Like, you've had the main event pay-per-views or had a great main event run. You had to be a world champion, that kind of thing. Those are the type of things that would go into me. Like Coco Beware would have never been in my Hall of Fame. But I could see the WWE putting in Great Khali, just because that's the WWE, and he was their first, like, real Indian type wrestler. So it's just like, I'm just gonna hold back because I try not to be too negative on the Hall of Fame because I truly believe it's the WWE Hall of Fame. It's not the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. It's the WWE Hall of Fame. Vince McMahon is the WWE. So it's who he thinks deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. So what can you really argue on that? The selection committee is one guy.
Yes, if it all boils down to, can Triple H make a good enough argument to convince him to do it?
Yeah, so I mean, with that being the case, you can't really get too upset about it because, you know, it's that guy that gets the Employee of the Month, and like, dude, I don't even know what you do here. That's how it was with Coco Beware for me. It was like he was a first match jobber that never held a title. I don't even remember him actually going up for titles when I was coming up, and I was like, how's he in the? But no, if he was a good employee, got along with Vince, did what Vince asked him to do, I could see him getting in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and he was a charismatic dude.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was a draw. But if you put every person that was on the roster in the Hall of Fame, it's not special at that point.
Yeah, true. So speaking of WrestleMania weekend, have any indie shows been announced?
There is WrestleCon does their super show every year, and they try to do it opposite of NXT. So they've been doing it on Saturdays because they do it during the Hall of Fame. But the WWE, not wanting anyone to make money, put NXT on the same night as their super show. The big name I know is going to be there is Homicide Ricochet. Sorry, I always confuse the names for some reason. But Ricochet is going to be there, and I really, really want to meet Ricochet. So that is, I'm gonna go to the NXT show, but I'm gonna go to the WrestleCon to meet him.
I wonder how much you want to bet that WrestleCon moves their show up earlier in the day.
They'll probably move it to Friday night.
Yeah, that's what they need to do, and it'll
because going up against the Hall of Fame is a lot easier than going up against NXT.
Yeah. Now it'll be interesting to see if Evolve brings in a show, or Ring of Honor used to bring in shows. I don't think they do anymore.
Yeah, you get like 3 or 4 indie shows that start on like Wednesday night. Since I'll already be in town, I'll probably catch whatever happens on Wednesday.
Very cool. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week. You got anything else you want to talk about or throw in before we head out?
I just want everyone, just like I say, I just want everybody to, if you sit down, Hell in a Cell, give the Charlotte and Sasha match. I don't think I have to tell wrestling fans this, but give it its full attention and its full due, and just think of it as a wrestling match. Don't think of it as a women's match, and just let them perform. I just think this, as far as wrestling, this is probably one of the most significant nights we've had in a long time.
Yeah, I agree. So everyone enjoy Hell in a Cell tonight. If you are doing the Halloween stuff tomorrow on Monday, be safe when you do it. And don't give any kids any laced candy because that's just shitty. So be good to each other. Floyd, where can people find you online?
They can find me on Twitter at Floyd Johnson Jr. and on Facebook at Floyd Johnson Jr. and on Instagram at Intense without the ICA. It's like Charlie Alpha.
All right. You can find me online, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Oklahoma Lefty. You can also read my music blog, oklahomalefty.com. You can find the show, more importantly, on Twitter and Facebook at Around the Ring OK. We also have a homepage, which at some point I'm going to make kind of cooler and give it an actual good URL. But for now, you can find it aroundtheringok.wordpress.com. If you have any questions, comments, or anything, we would love to answer questions on the air. That would be fun. You can either tweet us at aroundtheringok or shoot us an email, aroundtheringok@gmail.com, or hit either one of us up in our personal hoo-haws online. And, tell us what you think. We can take it if you think we suck. Just let us know because we want to make the show good and not boring. So that's going to do it. We are out of here. Enjoy Hell in a Cell. Have a great week, everyone, and we will see you all next Sunday.
You've been listening to Around the Ring on the Spark Radio Network.
All you have to do is change your point of view.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This sucks more than anything that I've ever fucked before.
What? It's for charity.